Starting that right now. Okay, so welcome to the Parent Family Webinar and Academic Advising and Registration. We're glad you're here. My name is Joe Hawkins. I am the Director of Parent and Family Programs here at Miami University. We are very glad to have you with us. Couple of quick housekeeping notes. Again, we're recording this, so thank you for that. I have enabled transcripts, the live subtitles. If that is something that would be helpful to you, you can, down at the bottom of your screen in the Zoom settings, there should be a live transcript option, and you can turn that on, turn on your subtitles, or turn on a running transcript on the side to help you follow along as we're going. Excuse me. We can use both the chat and the question and answer. Chat if you have something you want to pipe in or add, or just want to communicate with other folks who are here in the call. And then at the bottom you will see a Q&A tool. And we're going to use that for questions. We'll collect them as the webinar goes on. So as we go through, and if a presenter says something that you're like, oh, I have a question about that or this, go ahead, pop your question in there. It'll sit. I'll queue them up. I'll organize them, consolidate them, try to get groups of questions sorted together. And then after our presenter has finished their content, I'll pull from those questions and pitch them so that we can go through. So with that all out of the way, let's welcome Erin Brown. Erin is an academic advisor with the College of Arts and Sciences. They've worked with Miami University for the last 2 years. And we're really excited to have Erin with us. Erin, welcome. Do you want to say anything more about yourself and take it away?
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Erin Brown, as you said. One thing I do want to add on is that I'm an advisor within the College of Arts and Science. I focus specifically with biological science students, but I also see undecided students as well. Some of the examples you hear will be surrounded by that. So I couldn't exactly give you the perspective of an advisor in, say, the Farmer School of Business, but I can still give you that general advice that students would use to know as well, with advising and preparation for registration too. And I guess, do you want me to get started? Oh, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. If it lets me.
Fingers crossed, it should be set. If not, I'm ready to back you up.
There we go. There we go. Awesome. So I'm going to talk about advising and registration and how to prepare for that for students. So this way you can also share with your student if you hear anything that they might not know already. So just to begin, again, I'm going to go over some important dates for registration. Then I'm going to jump into advising, what that is, as well as how to prepare for it, and then also registration and how to prepare for that as well. So here you can see a timeline of what registration starts. When it starts and what that looks like. So October 3rd, our course list is viewable now for the spring semester courses. So students can begin looking at what's available for the spring, kind of building their schedules. That way they can know kind of what fits where and how that may look for the next semester. As of yesterday, time tickets are viewable for students. That time ticket shows a student the specific day and time that they can begin registering. This may look different for different types of students. So registration begins on the 26th. However, that week specifically is for priority students. Those are students who are registered with our student disability services, are military affiliated, or athletes, etc. Things such of that nature. Usually students who have priority know they have that priority, but if not, again, their time ticket will let them know. The process for registration is built by the credit hours earned by the student. So again, how it begins on the 26th for priority students. That following week, you'll have your seniors and your juniors begin to register. And then that following week, you'll have your sophomores and first year students register. Again, this is built by credit hours earned. So again, the more hours the student has, the earlier they'll be able to register. The reason why that is because, again, the more hours you have, the more likely it is you'll need specific courses within your major curriculum. So it's more important that you get those as soon as you can. Whereas say first year students who may register last, they still have a good likelihood of getting the courses they need. So it's not too big of an issue, but they also have time to adjust if needed. After that following week, with first years and sophomores registering, we have open registration. That is a second time period where students can register from November 14th all the way to the spring semester for classes. This time, a lot of students tend to drop and add courses, so a lot of things become available or a lot of things become closed. It's important that students still keep an eye out if they aren't able to get something that first time they're able to register. Again, this is built by credit hours earned. So a lot of first year students who may not come in with credit or may come in with a few hours here and there, they may register in that last group. So for advising at Miami, we as advisors do recommend students meet with us at least twice a semester or as needed. They are not required to meet with us as advisors, but we highly recommend it. This is mainly so we can help them understand their curriculum for their major, look at classes, know how to work resources through the university, or get connected with something they may need. And then the reason they should, listed here as well. Again, we can talk about students who may need help with registering for next semester's courses, students who may be in trouble academically or changing their majors or wanting to add majors. A lot of students, again, because we also, well, in my office at least, work with university study students. A lot of times we explore other majors or just help students figure out their own major if they aren't sure themselves. We can't stress enough how important it is that they meet with us, because a lot of students may register for, say, a 300 level bio course that they might not want to start with in their first semester. Instead, we might recommend they jump back a little bit, because those tend to be a little bit more difficult. In addition to them meeting with us as advisors, we also reach out to our students. So at the beginning of the semester, I know in my office at least, we send a couple of emails to introduce ourselves, but also give them a list of resources they can use as they come into the semester. So helping them get connected with our Ranella Learning Center for tutoring or SI or academic coaching, resources such of that nature. One thing we recommend too is instead of students waiting for us to invite them to have a meeting. So for example, right now we're in the middle of what we call registration season. So we see a lot of our students, a lot of our advisees to help them pick out spring courses. Instead of waiting for us to send that email to say, hey, meet with your advisor to talk about spring courses, we do encourage that students meet with us earlier on, just because we would hate for them to reach out to us for an appointment, but at that time it might be too late. We might be full or might have appointments all the way through that registration time. So again, it's important for students to connect with us as early as they can, or at some point before they register in the semester. Students can find their academic advisor in their My Miami pages. So it's new, so if students go into their My Miami, at the top bar, there's a search bar they can use. If they type in academic advisor, it should pull up with a button that they can click that'll have their advisor's information. That can be a divisional advisor such as myself, or a faculty advisor if they're upperclassmen. Sometimes students may have different advisors as well if they're honors or part of a specific program. Advising is more than just kind of looking at that next semester for courses. So students can talk with us about creating a 4-year plan. This isn't something we do for every student. Mostly if students ask us, we will build those for them. Or if we see the need for it, we will recommend the student work with us so we can build that plan for them. Sometimes I'll say, for example, I like to do this with my pre-medical studies students, just because I know there's very specific points in time where they need a specific course. So we build that plan so they can know when that is and what's available. That way they can kind of know what's coming up in preparation for courses further on, or applying for, say, medical schools or things of that nature. Again, if students ask us to build a 4-year plan, that's something we will work with them. We won't just flat out say no, but it is something that we work in tandem with a student. So it's not just us putting in courses and planning things out, it's also hearing the student out and seeing what they may be interested in taking too. For students who plan on changing majors or double majoring, students can change their majors or add a major through different departments. To do that, they would contact the lead departmental advisor for that specific major, or just contacting the general office. That way they can process it that way. We do encourage students to let someone know. So if a student is reaching out to that LDA, it's important that they let them know, like, hey, I either want to double major or change their major. If a student just says, hey, like I want to declare bio, and they also have political science and that person doesn't know, they may unenroll them in that other major. So it's important that they let them know when they do plan on adding a double major. This is the same thing for minors as well. If you do more than one, again, that's something you want to do is reach out and let them know you either want to add another one or take off the minor you have and add the other one you're interested with. So this is an example of a checklist we may recommend a student to look at in preparation for advising. So with students, definitely, again, scheduling that appointment with their academic advisor so they know to meet with us so we can talk about everything there is to know regarding advising and registration. Checking their accounts for holds. This is a big one. Sometimes students will have a Bursar hold or a financial hold through our One Stop, but they may not know until it's too late. So again, when we reach out to students, this is something we encourage that they look at as well. And then preparing for their advising appointment. One of those things is running their degree audit, which I'll get to in a little bit. Listing potential classes they may be interested with, but also, and this is the part I think is the most important, is writing out any questions they have. The main thing that I always say during my advising appointments is, do you have any last questions or do you have any follow-up questions after we go through information? And that's just mainly because students may have those questions, but may not want to ask in that moment and think they'll figure it out later. That happens pretty often. So that's something we encourage as well. Here is an image of the degree audit. Again, this is something we recommend students look at. So the degree audit holds all their curriculum for their majors, university requirements, and then sometimes divisional requirements. So we say run it, read it, and use it. So when students run their degree audit, again, it's important they meet with us so they can understand how to actually interpret their degree audit because it is a lot of information. And then using that to determine what classes they may want to take in the next semester. So this is, again, what that audit will look like for students. This isn't anything specific, it's just kind of generally what it may look like. So here you can see if students open all sections, there'll be information under each tab. This one specifically shows that students' GPA, the hours they need for their degree and what they have completed, as well as what may be in progress. Here you can see the Miami plan or some of the Miami plan requirements students will need to look at. The important thing with the degree audit is that students can find the different classes they need to take in order to complete specific requirements. So if you look there where it says creative arts courses, right underneath where you see this full list of courses here, these are all the courses that apply to that specific Miami Plan Foundation area. And students can utilize that to determine what they may want to take in the spring semester. This is something we also recommend students following up with the course list to see what's available. So while this does list all the courses that apply, some of these may not be offered in every single semester. And that's something we highlight for students to know as well. So one thing I'm going to do now actually is jump into course lists, or sorry, the guidebook. So you can kind of get a sense of what that may look like. To get to the guidebook, students can go to our orientation and transition services page. On that home page, if students scroll down and click the image for the new student guidebook, it'll pull up like this. So that new student guidebook is where students can find first year schedules, if they are a first year student. It has those recommendations of what they may want to take in the next semester. If you scroll down, all right, here we are. So for example, if a student is in data analytics, this has an example, it's probably small for you, but this has an example of that fall semester might look like for students just coming into the university, but also that spring semester and those recommended courses. So again, I highly say recommend it because students will be on different paths as they come into the university. Some students may come in with College Credit Plus or CCP credit or advanced placement credit. They may complete some of these requirements. So it's important that they make sure to look at this, but also make sure they meet with their advisor to determine what they may already have and what they may need moving forward. So again, registration is determined by the credit hours earned. So students will register within that order. So again, seniors to first year students. Again, those time tickets will open up so they can know when they actually register. Those will happen in 10-minute increments. But the reason I bring that up, so when students are actually searching for classes and go to register that day, one thing we recommend they do is look up the CRN, or course registration number, for their classes, so they can actually know what they're registering for. So for example, in course list here, this is where students can actually look up those classes and see the CRN numbers they need. They do that by searching the term. So I'll just do an example, spring semester. The Oxford campus, important, you don't want to schedule on a different campus. And say I have a student who wants to take Bio 116, they can type in that subject, and they can also type in the number for a specific course. Once they click find, it pulls up all the sections of that specific course. So then students can scroll through to see the specific section they might be interested with. So when I say CRN number, that is this 5-digit number listed here. It will always be 5 digits. I highly recommend when students do look at these numbers, they write them down accurately. Again, one number could be a difference from Oxford campus course to a regional campus course. And I would hate for students to have a regional campus course in the middle of the day and not know it. So it's important that they write these CRNs down and then check them the night before or the morning of their registration. What they can do next is in Bannerweb, there is a screen where students can enter these CRN numbers and register for all their courses at once or one at a time, however they would like to do that. I'm going to jump back over here. And this is what that screen will look like for students. So as students register, again, they can put those different CRN numbers from course list in the different boxes you see here along the bottom of the screen. Once they click submit change, they can register for the courses that they need. When students register for those courses, I always recommend they double check by running their degree audit. It'll be listed at the very bottom to show what they have in progress. And it shows not only the current semester, but the next semester courses as well. But if they do look in Bannerweb, they can see right here where it says status and says web register. That's how you can know for sure that you're registered for that course and it's confirmed. The next thing is for the ROAR and waitlist. So the big thing that happens sometimes is that sometimes classes can get full. I will admit sometimes classes aren't specifically full, but students may not want an 8 a.m. course or a Friday course. This happens pretty frequently. At some point, I always say students will have to have a Friday course. I say this a lot to my bio and chem students because chemistry is usually 3 days a week. So it's kind of can't really get out of it. But that's something to pay attention to as well. So the ROAR is our registration override request. If a course is full and a student wants to get into that course, they can submit one of these requests and ask basically if they can be put in the course over the capacity. So over that full amount to see if they're able to take that course for the semester. These can be approved or denied. It's through each specific department. Again, I always recommend students have backups for these reasons, because if the class is full, there's sometimes a good likelihood you may not get in. I'll say a good example might be statistics, or I'll say American Sign Language. That class tends to fill up and is pretty popular. A lot of students don't tend to drop that course. So once it's full, it tends to stay full. But again, that ROAR is something you can submit to be admitted over the capacity of the course. Or we also have our wait list. This is exactly what it sounds like. If a course is full, you can put on a wait list. That way, if someone else drops a course, then the student can then be added to the class. For the ROAR and the wait list, courses will have one or the other, but not necessarily both. So that's important to know as well for students. When students log into course list, and they'll be able to see this around that registration time, each course will have a box under the capacity number for it. That way they can see if there's a ROAR or a wait list available, as well as how many students may be on one of those lists. I did include a couple of links here, but I realized as I share my screen, it will not show. But these are things you can easily find on the Miami website. Each page has a search bar in the top right corner where students can type in registration override request or wait list. That way they can see the directions to actually submit those things. For the timeline of requests, I put this on here because it's different for each department. Some might answer those ROAR or waitlist requests within 2 weeks. Some might have a bigger timeline depending on that specific department, as well as the popularity of the courses sometimes. I know anthropology tends to be very popular for a lot of students. So their timeline may be different from, say, biology, which is more specific. But again, for the different wait lists when they're full, this is, again, why we highly recommend students have backup options for courses. And not just courses, but the different sections of courses. So if they write down one Bio 116 section, I always recommend students write down at least 2 to 3 more, just in case that first one is full. I always make the joke that the ADMs are always last, so register for it first. But again, that's why we recommend students do those. And then the biggest thing is to keep checking to make sure classes are full or if something opens up. Again, a lot of the times during our open registration time period, a lot of students will add or drop classes depending on where they are with their previous semester or going into the next semester. Yeah. So I know Joe has the chat open right now, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I can help with any questions that anybody might have.
I went and found the One Stops link about registration override requests, and I put that into the chat.
Perfect.
And I will grab I'll find a waitlist link to put into the chat as well. Left that sort of an easier question to start with. Where can a student find, can you go back over how to find the degree audit first, what a student would look like how to find that for themselves?
So I will admit, I don't have a student view, so I can't show you. I'm a visual person, so that helps a lot sometimes. But students can go into Bannerweb to find their degree audit. The steps are Bannerweb, student services and financial aid, student records, and then they'll find degree audit on that next page. And
this
the
is,
students,
go ahead.
Students also need to find their time tickets. It's those same steps. But instead of student records, they'll continue onto registration and it'll be on that page and it'll say check registration status so they can find their time tickets too.
If your student is a first-year student and they're in a first-year experience class, that is something we actually just did in class together as we pulled that up and walked through that. I teach one of the sections and I'm also a doctoral student, so I pulled up mine and I said, here's how we step through these steps and here's how you pull that up. So their UNB instructor, first year experience class instructor should be able to walk them through that too.
One thing I also forgot to mention too, with that first year experience course, one of the assignments that we have students complete is a academic advising planning sheet. That way they can talk about what they may be interested with, either with courses or career-wise, and present that to their advisor. One of the main things we have them answer on that is any questions they might have for their advisor. And then after they meet with them, we have them write down action steps to take next as well.
Exceptional. Okay, I've got here, I'm going to add this is I'm putting in the chat, One Stop's website about wait lists. So families can work through that. And then the second question is a concern about newer students trying to get into the classes they want to explore their majors, and the impact of later time tickets on getting into those classes. Is there anything you can say to address sort of how students can think about being successful in that way and exploring that as they go, especially for some of our students who have come in with a fair number of credit hours?
Yeah. So again, students who may come in with credits, their time tickets may be earlier. So again, that time ticket is by the hours earned, but not necessarily the class standing. So if a student is a first year and say they bring in maybe 30 hours, they'll still probably register within that same week, but they may register with the sophomore students instead of first year students. But students who may want to kind of explore different options as they register and may come in with a lot of credit, a lot of the times what we'll do is have them connect with a specific person for the department, more than likely the lead departmental advisor. I would say the most common thing that I see is students who may be interested in a nutrition course. But a lot of those tend to be restricted to the major. So I'll connect them with our lead departmental advisor, Jennifer Krauth. And what they'll talk about is possibly a potential course the student can get into, and that lead departmental advisor might give them permission to be added to the course as well. Sometimes they may have the student still complete a ROAR, but I always say that connection helps a lot because they know you're intending on taking the course because of your interests. Does that answer the question?
I think so. So the sort of the overall take there is if there are classes that a student who's got a later time ticket is particularly interested in exploring, connecting with the listed faculty from the sheet and talking, maybe building some positive relation there is what I heard from that.
Gotcha.
Does that
Yes,
sound right?
exactly.
Good.
But I would say too, if the class is full, they are really interested in that major. One thing we'll do is work to see what other classes are on that list that they could take, or even in that curriculum. Sometimes a lot of the courses within majors will overlap with students' Miami Plan courses or be open to all students. I forgot to mention this too, for majors, there are some specific programs that have admission requirements. So one of the examples I usually use is for the Farmer School of Business. A lot of the business courses may be restricted to business students. But again, connecting with someone in the Farmer School can open a gateway to have you taking one of those business courses. Sometimes that may be something that's earlier on in the curriculum for business students, like accounting or a marketing course that's a prereq. But having that connection helps a lot.
Awesome. Okay. There's also some concern about declaring major within some schools. If a student's still sort of sitting out there trying to figure out their major, what's a good way to go about that from your perspective?
Yeah. So personally, I always say the biggest thing is research. So I can give the information to the students as much as I can, but it's important for them to also go out and see what's there. One thing we tend to recommend is also connecting with our Center for Career Exploration and Success, and kind of looking at the different career options they may be interested in as well, and kind of exploring those too. That way they can figure out what major is needed for those two, and then we can kind of jump back and then decide on that major afterwards. Even if a student doesn't declare, I would say within that first year, more than likely we can tend to work with the major courses and help them still graduate within that 4 years. It does also depend on the major. So if a student goes undecided for maybe a year and is interested in education, that program tends to be a 4-year solid program just because of different certifications and things educators need. But again, we work with students if we need to, whether that be starting with a minor and going into a major with those classes then. That way, even if it is something they decide they're not interested with, they can still use it for their academic career too. Oh, your sound is on.
I do that. You'd think after so many years of getting used to Zoom, I would still be better. I would also say, and I'm sorry, I was typing an answer to another question, so I only caught about half of that. I'm not great at multitasking. But did you mention Career Center and engaging with Career Center? You did? Yeah, I can't stress enough, right? Like the MAP tests and just going in and talking to one of the career advising team just to look at what career they're interested in and narrowing down a career and then going backwards to a degree of like, okay, I want to do this, right? Like I want to work in business marketing, and then translating back to say, okay, well, that could be this major, this major, this major, this major. Which of these feels good to you? Is another. It's just it's a different way to think about getting through college to after college that I think is so underappreciated, underutilized from our student body. We think so often of I pick a degree and then I figure out what that degree does, and that's not necessarily the way it has to be. I think that is the biggest of the questions. I will hang out a second. Is there any other tips? Let's say students are having a hard time getting a hold of an advisor, which sometimes is a question that comes up, right? You all are very busy. There are lots of students scrambling to get there, and it's going to get tighter the closer to those time tickets we get. People tend to scramble in there beyond when they hit that wall, and when they are in need of some support. Are there any tips you can offer that'll help that, other than thinking far ahead?
Yeah, exactly. So again, this kind of goes back to the advising prep piece. So again, when I meet with students, this is personally, I can't speak for every advisor because we all advise in a different way. One thing I like to talk about with my students is going through the degree audit and letting them know any prereqs they might have for courses and what to take before they go into that next piece. That way, if I can't meet with the student during registration, they can look at their audit and say, okay, I know I need to take these courses before I can take these. So let me look at these few courses. And then also letting students know to have a balanced schedule. So if students have Miami plan courses they need to take, as well as, I'll say for the College of Arts and Science, we have our divisional requirements. I usually recommend students take maybe between 1 and 3 major courses, and then use that Miami plan and CAS requirements to fill in the rest of their schedule. Another way though too, the different advising offices on campus also have drop-in hours. So if students can't schedule a specific appointment with us, they can also stop by those hours to still talk with an advisor. And again, specifically for, again, CAS. So a lot of my biological study students are, or sorry, a lot of my biology students are also pre-medical studies. So we do have our Mallory Wilson Center for students who are doing pre-med. And that office also has drop-in hours as well as advisors for pre-medical studies too. So again, a lot of students will have different advisors for different things. Some will have an honors advisor, some may have a learning coordinator, some may even have advisors for their specific living and learning communities too. So it's not just us that they can meet with, they have I'll say a community to meet with too.
Indeed. I had a question asserting that we couldn't see it in the chat. I think I have fixed that. So and reposted everything. That should be a request for, what was that? What does ROR stand for?
Registration override request.
Registration override request. The one-stop wait list link and their degree audits link should be there. The next question was, can they meet with an advisor other than who they are assigned to? I think we just answered that, talking about drop-in hours.
And I would say they can, but another divisional advisor might not know about a different division. So that's important too.
The further from your home per college you get, the less informed they might be about what your specific needs are. But if you come prepared, I do think generally that they can help, and it might be better than nothing at some point. And I would say every college has those published. I've looked at a few. I think if you look up advising for any given college, they'll have some of that information, what their drop-in hours are. And then one more question that just slid in. Where would my student go to have another school's curriculum in a particular class review to see if they could take that class in place of a class that Miami offers? So if they were looking to get transfer credit for a class, say over summer or winter term, how do they assess in advance to make sure that class will count?
So one thing that we use, especially for transfer credits coming between schools, is transferology.com. So students have a version of this, and then advisors have a different version of this. With Transferology, you can look at the classes between different universities and see what will match a specific course. Now, I will admit, the higher you go in your curriculum, the less likely you'll find different matches, just because there's more content involved and courses can be very different. Some schools may have 2 courses that count towards 1 course here and vice versa. The biggest thing I always say is definitely talk with your advisor to look at Transferology and see if there is a match. If students transfer in a course that is not a match for something we may have here, usually the advisor can determine whether or not that's something they need to have what we call reevaluated. That process, a student would contact the departmental advisor. So again, that LDA in that specific department for the course with the syllabus for that class, and the lead departmental advisor would determine whether or not they can match that course to what we have, or if it can take a place of a different course within their curriculum. And again, that's a different process. So I will say I don't determine what matches myself. But if I see a student has, say, 3 bio courses that came in as transfer credit, or what we call T credit, because it didn't have a match, I might refer that to the lead departmental advisor for bio and have them take a look at it to see what it can be.
Okay, so transferology for a pre-look, chatting with your advisor to double check, and if you think it should have, you can work with an advisor to have a class that didn't immediately get the credit to reevaluate.
And I will admit too, sometimes there are courses that don't match and can't count towards that curriculum. So again, it's important that students talk about this beforehand. I can't tell you how many times I've seen calculus come in, but it's not calculus here. But it was where they took it before. So again, it's important to talk with somebody else.
Very good. What about, Aaron, double majors?
Yes.
Would you say that they should, someone who's got two majors or more, should they say they're, you know, a business and a science major, should they see someone in both colleges?
Yes. So if students have majors in different colleges, definitely talk with both advisors. Again, because different majors might have different specific requirements. So if a student is political science and has a degree in the Farmer School of Business, we have our CAS requirement specifically to us, whereas Farmer has their different curriculum as well for students coming into the major. So they have their business core. Now I can look at that list online, but again, there might be specific things that I don't know that Farmer School advisor might know more than I do, and vice versa. So if I know a lot of CAS requirements overlap with our Miami plan, I can point those specifics out to a student. But a Farmer School of Business advisor might see that and say, well, I mean, I guess this can match, but I'm not sure. But it's still important that you meet with both or at least have some kind of contact with both advisors.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Well, Aaron, I think that's all the questions we've got in the moment. So let me take this opportunity to thank you again for taking time out. I know that our academic advisors right now are very, very busy, yourself included, and that you've made time to stay after hours with us to try to answer some questions and provide some oversight so that our parents and our family members of our students are ready to help our students move through this process, especially those first year families who may not have seen this before. Advising is very different at Miami than it was at my undergrad or my graduate school. So it's good to learn this process, and I hope this was helpful for everybody who stuck around. Thank you all for joining us. If you only managed to make it for part or the late of this, folks, I will work very hard to have this posted up to the miamioh.edu/parents/resources page under the webinar section by Friday, so that you can take a look at that. Review this as you can, and I'm happy to help. The Office of Parent and Family Programs, we're always happy to help. If you have questions that come up, if you're not sure where to start, you're always welcome to reach out to find an advisor in the college or call the college directly. But as I say always, if you're not sure where to start, please start with us. We're happy to get you connected. So happy, and one final shameless plug: Family Weekend is this weekend. If you are nearby and can make it, we'd love to see you here on campus to join us for a football game and Uptown Festival and some picnics and lots of cool stuff happening on campus this weekend. Weather's supposed to be great. We'd love to see you around. Look for me, I'll be floating about. Again, thank you, Aaron, for your time. We appreciate it greatly. Thank you, parents and families, for spending time to try to learn so you can support your students. And I hope everyone has a lovely evening. Bye.